Hello everyone and welcome to the den. It's been a minute. Today we're going to be canning grape juice, as you see from the title. This is my first time doing grape juice. I think it'll be easier than jelly. I am not good at jellies, but I figure, and we don't really eat jam or jelly hardly ever, so I'm going to take my grapes that I grew in the garden and turn them into grape juice. So stick around if you want to see how I do it. Okay, so grape juice. I grew a bunch of grapes. I have grapevines in my garden, so we have, I have already kind of started the process here, but I have like 2 big things of grapes that I pulled off. So I'm going to see how much I can get out of it, and we're going to use that for, we'll use it in smoothies because we won't drink just grape juice, but my husband uses pomegranate juice in his smoothies in the morning, so I figure, well, I'll turn it into grape juice. Maybe next year I'll do some jellies. I'll play around with that, but that's what I plan to do with it this year. And I just don't have a lot of time, so I think this is going to be the quickest way to do it. We'll find out. But I am going to dedicate some time to this today because I need to get back in the saddle of making things like jam and jelly and juice, because it's been a long time since I've done that. I pressure can more than I water bath can. So, but it's not hard. So I'm going to just walk you through how I do this. And also, if you're interested, I kind of say this in my other videos, but I do have a vlog channel, and I did post a vlog. It hasn't been consistent on that channel, but the vlog is of a territorial prison in Wyoming. It's kind of a cool place. I've been there several times. So if you want to check that out, I'll link it below. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing to that channel if you like that type of content, to help me grow that channel as well. So let's get into what we're doing right now with these grapes. Okay, so here is the strainer and this is the hopper, and I already have some grapes in here, as you can see, and then I will pan you down so that you can see the rest of it. But I have, what I'm doing right now is I'm just adding the grapes one by one off the stems, just like this. I'm just pulling off the good looking ones. So here's one of my little bunches. I grew Niagara, Concord, I don't even know. There was a bunch of different grapes that we grew this year. Well, they've been growing. This is the first year, I think, we planted them 2 years ago. So this was the first year that we got any type of legitimate crop from it. So we're happy about that. So the grapevine looked amazing this year. I thought that it wasn't going to turn out, but then it ended up producing quite nicely. So hopefully every year we'll have some really good grapes. And when I had grapevine before, I only had Concords, but these ones are really, really sweet. It's supposed to be a table grape, but they have so many seeds that they're nearly inedible. So I'm going to turn them into this juice. So I'm just going to continue right now. I'm going to pan you down and let you see the rest of this. So as you can see, there is a hopper with the grapes in it. It has a turn handle over on this side. I know you can't see it, but it's over here. And then the strainer apparatus, it looks like a barrel like these. There's 2 different ones. So I have the largest one in there now, and then there's 2 smaller ones. So I'll start with the largest one, and you strain out the juice, and then the bits that don't get into the juice come out down here. So right now I'm going to continue just pulling the grapes off of the vines, and we will go from there. All right, so as I'm turning, you can see the stuff coming out the side here. I'm trying to catch it in the cup, and then I think I'm gonna have to give the grapes kind of a squish down because they're not wanting to go through. Let me pull this stuff out of here. And you can strain this multiple times. So let's keep going. Nothing's coming out. So let me get something to stick in there. They weren't feeding down in there, so. There we go. Oh gosh, came undone. All right, let me fix that. Okay, so here it goes. See the juice coming out? It has quite a lot of bits in it. Oh no. The bits are coming out. I'm not sure if there's a better way to do that or not. I don't remember. But I'm just going to keep doing it like this until it's strained, and then I'll strain it again. Okay, so I've poured from here into my cheesecloth, and then I just take my spoon and kind of move the pulp away from the bottom. And then if you lift up on the cheesecloth, it'll start to come through. And then at the end, once it doesn't want to come through the cheesecloth anymore, I just squeeze it out. So just kind of take it like this and then just start squeezing it. I'm not going to do that yet because it's still kind of coming out, but that's the method that I was using to get this juice through the cheesecloth. Okay, so we ended up with 2 quarts here, and it tells me to add a 1/4 cup. I did this a little backwards. It said to strain through the cheesecloth after it's going on the stove, but I don't think it really matters that much. But if you want to follow it to the T, just grab the book and follow per the directions. So I ended up with about 2 quarts of juice, plus there's a little bit in here, not very much. So I'm going to dump these in, and it says add a 1/4 cup of water per quart, so I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of water. So that's about 1/2 cup of water. I don't see why it would make that big of a difference to add water, but we're going to get this on the stove and bring it to 190 degrees and let it just sit at 190 degrees for 10 minutes. And here's what it looks like. Okay, so we're at 192, so I started my timer, and I'm just going to give this a stir to cool it down. I don't want it to boil. If you stir it, it'll cool it down some. It adds air into the pot, so you can see the temperature kind of went down some. But I'm going to let this do its thing for the next 10 minutes and let that timer go. And as soon as we're done there, then we'll come back. Okay, so the 10 minutes just ran out, so I'm going to take this over to my container that I'm going to leave it in overnight in the fridge. Well, for a day. It needs to be in there for a whole day. So while when this was holding at 190 for the 10 minutes, it was right above the low setting. So I kind of got it on like medium to high heat at the beginning just to get it warmed up. And then once it started getting close to 190, I turned the heat down quite a bit to between medium and low. And then to hold, it was, like I said, right above low. And this is a gas stove, so yours might be a little different if it's an electric stove, but that's what I did. That's what held mine there for the full 10 minutes, and I checked it throughout the time. If I had a canning thermometer, it would have made life much easier, but I don't know where mine is. So I just used a regular like kitchen thermometer. So I'm going to go ahead and get this over to the container that we're going to leave it in, and I'm going to actually let it go through another strain. So I'll show you that. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead. I have this little strainer here, and I'm just going to let it go through here. Okay, set this aside. I'm going to grab my spoon. And I did see like little chunks of seeds in there, so which is weird because it must have just came outside the cheesecloth when we were straining. But you can see there's still little bits of stuff, so just gonna push that against the side to get the juice to come out. And then I'm going to put this in the fridge without a lid till it cools, and then once it cools I'll just throw a lid on it just so it's protected inside the fridge. And then I will be back tomorrow to can it. Okay, so it's the next day and I'm about to can up my juice. So I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to strain it through this one last time. And we're going to heat this up to 190 degrees for 5 minutes. So let me go ahead and grab my juice that's in the fridge, and I'm going to pour it in. Okay, so I'm not really concerned about if it's going to be clear juice or not. They say to ladle from to not disturb the sediment at the bottom here. But I've already squeezed this through cheesecloth and strained this one time. So I'm going to just pour it in. And there is like sediment kind of there, but again, I'm not super worried about that. Just going to let that mesh catch it. Any of the bits there. So there's kind of this stuff at the bottom. I'm just going to pull that out. And you can see in the pot a little bit went through. But that's okay. I'm not really concerned about that. So I got my heat set to high, and I'm going to let this come up to 190 degrees again. I have my jars in here boiling. Well, they're not boiling yet, but they will be, because we're going to pack this into a hot jar. Okay, so my jelly has been simmering at 190 for 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my jars out of my canner. Here's my canner, and my jars are inside here, and it's real steamy in there, boiling. My jars just need to be cleaned and then kept in here hot because the juice is hot. So this is going to process for 25 minutes. So I'm not concerned about sterilizing my jars because it's going to boil inside the pot for more than 10 minutes. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my hot jars, and I'm going to pack my juice into the hot jar. So let me go ahead and get that set up. Alright, so I'm going to grab out my first jar, and we're going to pack a pint jar with a 1/4 inch headspace. You could do half pints, it doesn't really matter what you're doing here. Your headspace is 1/4 inch. Okay, so my jar is very hot, and I'm just going to carefully pour the juice into the jar. Okay, and then we have a tool here. I have my measure tool, and your first notch, your first step up is a 1/4 inch. And we're just going to check your level there, and then just top it off until you get to that level. So after your jar is filled, you're going to take your paper towel. You don't have any fat in this, so you can use just water. You can use vinegar if you want to. I'm just going to use water, and I'm just going to wipe off my lid so that I get a good seal. I'm going to grab my clean lid, a band. You're doing fingertip tight. Okay, you're not putting any muscle into that. And then you can set this on your rack in your boiling water canner right now. And don't lower it, just set it on the rack that's raised up. Alright, and so I have my second hot jar here, and I'm just going to do it exactly the same. And once I have all these jars filled up, I'll show you what I do in the canner. Okay, so I ended up with 3 pints. I thought I would get 4, but that's okay. It seems kind of silly to spend all this time on 3 pints of juice, but I didn't want to waste what came out of the garden. So I'm going to go ahead and lower this down carefully, try not to tip those jars over. You want at least 1 inch of water over the top of those. It's very hot, so be very careful if you're doing that. Try to stand these up straighter. They do not sit well on the rack sometimes. And then I'm going to drop this down into there. I'm just going to drop this empty jar into there to try to keep these standing up while this water boils. It may or may not work. We'll see. Alright, so I'm going to let this come to a boil. You could cover it or you can leave it uncovered. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so this needs to process at a rolling boil for 15 minutes if you're at sea level. I'm going to have to add another 10 for my elevation. So make sure that you check in your book to know what your processing time is and how to adjust for elevation. And wait to start your timer until it's at a full rolling boil. Alright, so my timer just ran out and I turned my heat off. I'm just going to take the lid off and see it's still boiling. And I'm just going to grab my jars out and put them onto my towel. I'm not going to lift the rack, I'm just going to grab them out. Just like that. Don't tip them because the juice will, it's not completely sealed until it pops, so I don't tip mine because I don't want juice to come between the lid and the jar. So I'm just going to set these on a towel. Alright, so here they are. This is what they look like coming out. I think they've already all 3 popped. They'll continue to seal as they cool down, but they look really good. So I am going to let these cool for a whole day. Just let them sit here undisturbed, and then they'll be ready to go be marked and put in the pantry. So hopefully next year I get more grapes so that I get a better crop, and maybe next year I'll make jelly. Alright you guys, so make sure to subscribe to my vlog channel if you haven't already. I would appreciate it greatly. I don't have very many subs, but if I do get some more subs over there, if people wanting to watch vlogs, then I will be more maybe motivated to make better content over there. But for now, I'll leave a link below if you want to go check out the one video I did make of the prison. I think I mentioned it at the very beginning of the video. So for now, this is going to do for me today. So thank you so much for watching. Hope that you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to this channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.